You're watching the South Texas News Leader. This is 3 News at 10.
Ahead, COVID vaccinations continue at a record pace as more and more Americans are getting the shot. So what is it that has health officials so concerned tonight? We'll take a look. Plus, 1 year after infection. Hear from a COVID survivor who is still trying to beat the illness that nearly took his life. And later, an inside look at a military program being used here in Corpus Christi that could change pilot training forever. Good evening and thanks for joining us here. I'm Mike Gillespie. We begin with growing concerns about a possible fourth wave of the coronavirus. This as U.S. health officials are administering vaccinations at a record pace. Still, the uptick in the number of confirmed cases across the country tonight is being called alarming. An increase, in fact, of 21% in just the past 3 weeks.
It's certainly something we're concerned about. I think this is evidence of just how opportunistic and tenacious the virus is, and further evidence that although there is a light at the end of the tunnel, we are not out of the tunnel yet.
An average of 64,000 plus Americans are testing positive daily, and hospitalizations are climbing too, up 12% since the beginning of the month. New Jersey, New York, Minnesota, and Michigan are among the hardest hit states. Some hospitals have been forced to revert to banning visitors, halting non-emergency procedures, and implementing surge plans.
I was going room to room to room for all 8 hours, and there was nothing else that I could give them, nothing else that I could do.
We don't have enough, people to give the care that we need to.
The U.S. set a new single-day record on Saturday with more than 4.5 million shots administered in just 24 hours, but a sharp decline of 85% in the supply of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is hindering the fight. Over the last several days, there have been quite a few developments in regard to COVID-19. In fact, we've seen everything from news about new variants to some inmates finally being vaccinated. Our Mariah Gallegos has a breakdown of some of the biggest stories from the week. And for those who still need to get a shot, check this out. Our public health district will have daily vaccination clinics this week. It all begins with evening clinics on Monday and Tuesday at Whataburger Field. Those will begin at 5 p.m. You can also go to the American Bank Center starting at 9 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The Borchard Fairgrounds will have clinics Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, also starting at 9 in the morning. And there will even be a clinic inside La Palmera Mall. It runs Tuesday through Sunday during regular mall hours. Now, to make an appointment for any of these clinics, you go online to cctexas.com/vaccine registration, or you can just call 561-1101. Well, a look now at the latest coronavirus numbers being reported in Nueces County. They include 68 new cases, bringing the county total to 40,425. Thankfully, there were no COVID-related deaths noted today, so that number stays right there at 758. As of tonight, 43 people are in the hospital with the virus. 12 of those patients are in the ICU. A story now about survival and determination. It comes in the form of an emergency room doctor who refused to give up when the pandemic hit home. It was about a year ago when Dr. Joseph Lashley first contracted COVID-19. He had a stroke and spent 3 months in the hospital. At the Texas Medical Center in Houston, a team of doctors, nurses, and therapists helped him to get back on his feet in the most literal sense. Starting all over again, his first move was to set some goals, among them going to the Grand Canyon with his wife and children. He admits now, though, that at first mention that was really just a joke.
As limited as I was a year ago, I never really thought I'd be doing much of anything. Did I really think it would ever happen? I'll be honest with you, I really did. But as things kept progressing and things kept getting better, I said, we probably should try to do this and have a good goal set up for myself and for my kids to really sort of see that we can achieve this. So that's what we shot for, and we made it.
Yeah, they did make it. He and his family took that trip. Dr. Lashley still needs help walking and is still on oxygen, but he is improving. He says the steps taken in one of the wonders of the world are just the first of a second chance at life after beating an illness that almost killed him. More than 172,000 migrants were stopped at the border last month, the most in 20 years. The Biden administration is telling migrants not to come, but unlike with the Trump administration, children who are traveling alone aren't being sent back to their home countries. Today on Fox News, Governor Greg Abbott said that this is a problem.
Let's talk about those dire consequences. You made news this week reporting that there are cases of sexual abuse at the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas, that houses right now more than 1,600 children. But the head of a
What the governor said in that interview was that the Biden administration was unprepared to deal with the massive inflow of migrants coming in. The governor also says that he believes President Biden should re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy, build the border wall, and send a stronger message to migrants telling them not to cross the border illegally. When we come back, we'll check on Project Avenger. Now, it's not a superhero club, but a new way of training military pilots in Corpus Christi that seems to be catching on. Stay with us for that. But first, let's bring in meteorologist Dave Downey. And Dave, you couldn't have scripted a better day in the Coastal Bend if you tried. Welcome back. The Chief of Naval Air Training, also known as Sinatra, has one main mission, and that is to train the best pilots in the world. Now, many of those Navy and Marine Corps pilots start out right here in Corpus Christi. For years, the department has had to rely on traditional forms of instruction, but a prototype program could now change all of that. Project Avenger is a virtual reality computer program that gives student pilots the opportunity to go digital.
Super excited to see where this program goes.
The first class of 19 students began their journey last September and completed training earlier this month.
This one differs in the fact that whenever they go through their VR training, we introduce them to almost everything that they would do in the plane, they will do in the VR sims first. The
Avengers were able to finish the course about a month earlier than traditional students. Lieutenant Jeffrey Pence was one of 7 officers in charge of the class.
We can speed up the process in the aircraft, and their actual useful amount of training they get out of the aircraft goes up from day one.
The VR simulator mimics the control and maneuvers of the Navy's T-6 trainer planes. They're the ones often seen over the skies of South Texas, taking off from Naval Air Station Corpus Christi. It puts the user in the cockpit and gives them a real-world view of landmarks and locations, not only across the Coastal Bend, but across the globe.
I seen them do different stuff in these VRs. I didn't even think they would. They started asking for more difficult stuff.
You can also practice different maneuvers in the VR. You can do loops, barrel rolls. You can do a whole bunch of stalls. Basically everything that you would do in the actual plane, you can do in the simulator here.
Ensign Miles Whitlow from Alabama was one of the students in the first test group. He went through the Naval Academy and is now following in his father's footsteps of becoming a pilot.
I got a chance to fly in a trainer jet my junior year in college, and that right there sold it for me. And I said, I want to go aviation and I want to fly.
Whitlow says it was a unique learning experience for both he and his fellow classmates.
In the beginning, we were all kind of nervous and kind of confused because it was an unknown thing that we were doing. No one's done it before.
Once students get familiar with the controls in the virtual reality machine, they move on to much bigger flight simulators, all of them housed here at NAS Corpus Christi. Inside, future pilots get a feel for what it's like to be in the cockpit.
When you move into the traditional sims, those are built for their actual physical actions of how to fly the aircraft.
Of course, the next step is to take flight in one of the training planes. After completing the first course, students move on to more advanced training in a specialized aviation category. And, well, that could include anything from flying helicopters to jets. Project Avenger actually gets its name from the plane that was flown by former President George H.W. Bush, who earned his Wings of Gold at NAS Corpus Christi back in 1943. The training program at Sinatra hasn't seen any significant changes in over 50 years. And as technology advances, so do the applications for our everyday world.
Times are changing, so we have to change as well to stay ahead of the power curve. I think that, just implementing something like this would better us for the future in the fleet.
There's obviously a double-edged sword when you try to push too far too fast, but taking technology that we know is valid and able to use that to increase training and increase the skill sets that these students are going to get out and face the world with is absolutely vital.
Project Avenger is only available for student pilots in Corpus Christi, although there are plans in the works to roll it out to the training wing in Florida. Hey, let's keep talking about planes, shall we? The Blue Angels will be the headline act once again for the annual Wings Over South Texas Air Show. As you might expect, a few things will be different at this year's event. The air show is partnering with Buck Days on May 1st and 2nd. And instead of taking place on base, the high-flying maneuvers will be seen along the Corpus Christi Bayfront over those 2 days. Again, that is all happening the first 2 days of May. When we return, Dave Downey will join us once again with a look at the week ahead, a cool down, maybe even some showers on the way. The timing of that and more right after the break. All right, any rain, we'll certainly take it. Thank you, Dave. Still ahead tonight on 3 News, let the negotiations begin. The president says he's ready to talk infrastructure, and he expects lawmakers to get in the game. A look at his proposed plan right after this. Welcome back. President Joe Biden sending a message today that he's ready and willing to negotiate over his ambitious $2.3 trillion plan to overhaul America's infrastructure. The president's bill now calls for $100 billion to expand broadband internet to the entire country. Also in the plan, $45 billion to replace every lead pipe, $115 billion to fix 20,000 miles of roads and more than 10,000 bridges.
He knows that his current plan is going to be changed. That's the nature of compromise.
This is a massive social welfare spending program combined with a massive tax increase.
President Biden is scheduled to meet with a bipartisan group of lawmakers tomorrow. Word is that the president would like to see progress by Memorial Day and passage by Congress this summer. We know the housing market is hot here in Texas, and it's a similar situation in other parts of the country. Home prices are climbing at the fastest pace in 15 years. Now, Austin and San Antonio are 2 of the areas seeing people moving in from Northern California. Right now, some homes are selling for more than 100% over asking price.
If you're not bringing cash to the table and willing to make a lot of concessions, you're out of the game. The list price is no longer the list price, it's the starting point.
According to Redfin, most homes are selling within a week of hitting the market. Experts say historically low inventory, low mortgage rates, and the ability to work remotely are driving the demand across the country. Hey, stay with us. Sports is next. Lack of offense for the most part today in Arlington as the Rangers took on the Padres. We pick up the action in the 4th when San Diego's Trent Grisham takes one for a ride, and that resulted in a 1-0 lead that they took into the 9th. The Rangers held scoreless. Manny Machado would add an insurance run on a 418-foot second deck home run in the final frame. Rangers lose 2-0 today. A Lone Star State matchup, though, on the hardwood in Dallas as the Spurs took on the Mavericks. And this one would turn out to be a close one through all 4 quarters. DeMar DeRozan coming up big when it counted, leading the Spurs with 33 points. San Antonio wins 119-117, improving to 25-26 on the year. And a new champion crowned at the Masters tournament in Augusta today. Japan's Hideki Matsuyama held on to a 2-stroke lead during the final holes to earn his first green jacket. He went into the clubhouse at 10 over 4 rounds. Xander Schauffele posted a late round surge, but a shot into the water on the 16th dashed his hopes he would finish tied for 3rd. Hey folks, that'll do it for us for now. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you again soon.